Hi Lumineers! Welcome back to the Lighter Side Show. I'm your host, Jamie Butler, the Everyday Medium, and our guest today is the Danielle Gibbons. Ta-da! We have been chit-chatting for about 10 minutes before we can even turn the camera on. That's how much we adore each other. I'll reciprocate. I love her.
Yes. Me too.
Tremendously.
It's a girl crush, for sure.
There's so many similarities, it just makes my heart light up. Before we get into Danielle and her abilities and why she's here today, let's do some housekeeping notes. We have some great classes coming up. In January, we have the basic mediumship course. That's January 13th and 20th. That's going to be online through Learn It Live. And the intermediate class comes the month after, February 24th and March 3rd. Put it on your calendar. 2 Fridays, learning great stuff, how to see energy, how to get the information from energy. And then the advanced mediumship class, end of March, March 24th weekend, here in Atlanta, live in person. You get to come see us. I'm going to hug you every time you walk through the front doors. It's just my thing. I'm going to do it. We also have some housekeeping notes from Miss Danielle Gibbons. And I love that because she's coming to the center April 15th and 16th. That's Easter weekend. Look, I'm going to get my notes so I don't mess up. And October 19th and 27th, or
19th through the 22nd.
Thank you. October 19th through the 22nd at the Dahlonega Resort and Spa.
Yes.
And all of her work is with Mother Mary. And if you want to know more about that, push pause right now and head over to belovedpublications.com because that is where Danielle is. And all of her events and classes, your meditation classes that you have.
Yes,
They're online.
Yes, I'm releasing a video every 2 weeks on my YouTube channel, and that's been really awesome. People are loving that.
And your YouTube channel is?
Mother Mary Channel. Easy to remember.
I think it's awesome that Mother Mary has her own YouTube channel.
I know, right?
Come on, that is pretty cool.
I know.
You are also the wonderful author to Mother Mary's Pathway to Love. And it's all talking about being authentic with oneself.
Falling in love with yourself. That's right.
And yes, and honest, love, all the goodies. Just holding the book, guys, it's a sweet treat. Like, you can feel it. I know. Before you came in, I got my rose water, because for me, rose is the smell that I associate with Mother Mary. I've only had a few interactions with her my whole life, and this intense smell of roses occurs. So I went around and I blessed the space, and I think after we speak with Danielle for a little bit, maybe Mother Mary might want to come in for an episode and give a nice talk.
Absolutely. Oh my God. Absolutely.
Who's a groupie? I know. We're going to be so excited. But before then, Lumineers, I'm sure you want to get to know Danielle a little bit better. How did you come across this line of work? Were you somewhere else before? Like, is it a Clark Kent Superman kind of a thing where,
That's great.
You keep it hidden for a little while? You're like, no, I'm normal. I'm wearing glasses.
That's right.
In the background, there's a cape flapping,
That's
and you're
right,
like, I speak with, all the spirits.
It's very true. In the beginning, I have a very similar story as yours. I was a massage therapist. Well, first actor, performer, and I realized that at some point that I was unable to handle the emotional baggage that came with the acting career. I love the acting and really liked the people, but it was the constant rejection, which is just part of the job, but I was too sensitive emotionally, and at that point in my life I did not have the tools to really deal with it in a mature manner. Took too much to heart. Felt like something was chipping away at me, every time. And so it was a soul crusher for me. And so I then became a massage therapist. And I remember the very first time after I got my first job, after school, and I got my first job in a spa in Santa Monica. And it was my first client. And it was so quiet in the room, and you've got the really nice music in the background. It was a beautiful spa in Santa Monica, so of course the room was stunning, and the lighting was all dim. And the first time I put my hands on my first paying client, I just cried and cried because it felt like I was home. It was just that feeling. Oh my gosh, already it's like, I thought, this is where I'm going to thrive emotionally. You know what I mean? Yes. Not out there with the, you got to look a certain way, you got to be a certain way in order for us to take you on and hire you and give you approval. And, this is a whole different place. And I felt like that's where I was able to settle, in my mid-20s, when I was just coming into my spirituality and awakening spiritually, and it was the perfect profession for me to transition into my channeling.
I think for some of us, when we listen to going from massage therapy, which has, I think, a lot of good visual definition, it's body work, right. It's this, and you say just a transition into channeling. How,
what?
Yeah.
How does one do that? Yeah. It's a sensitivity.
How is that link for you?
I didn't realize I was that energetically sensitive until I started massage. I went to massage school because my friend was like, honey, you got to do this for not much money. Because in California, the laws are different with massage. You don't have to go to school as long to become a therapist. He said, you can do this, make more money, set your own hours, and stop waitressing. And I was like, oh, God, I was so ready for that. So I went into it as a job change that I thought, I could have what he described. I had no idea that I had these sensitivities until I started doing massage, and I started knowing things about my clients. I'd put my hands on them, and clients would start saying, wow, I'm feeling all this energy moving. I'm like, really? Look at your
really?
Hands. Like, oh, what does that mean? And these were conservative clients. This was the people coming to the spa were, big money, doctors, executives. But this was not a metaphysical or a healing center.
Right.
This was a straight up, spa, day spa. And people were commenting, and I started saying, I would get this feeling inside me that if I didn't say what was coming to me, I almost felt sick with it. Like I'd resist, I'd not say, I wouldn't say anything, and I wouldn't say anything. And halfway through, the session, I'd almost start feeling sick. And then I got up the courage, I'd be like, you might want to think about maybe doing this. And they'd be like, oh, I can't believe you said that. I've been thinking about this. And they'd go on and on about it. And it was that validation, that what was coming to me. And, at that time, nothing was earth-shattering, but it was really helpful for people. And I was shocked that this was coming to, I didn't take a class, I didn't know anything about this. And of course, luckily in the massage therapy community, there are a lot of us who find ourselves there as a starting point, or, as an ending point. I'm working with this woman now in my town, and she's phenomenal. She's a phenomenal body worker, healer, shamanic practitioner. I mean, she's just incredible. And so I think it's a real haven for people like us who not only was able to come into these abilities of my own, but you got immediate validation and feedback from your client.
And there's an instant intimacy,
correct,
in massage therapy, and instant trust.
Yep.
That you yourself are going to protect them and care for them, and it's opened. It opens up that way.
Yes, and that initiation into honoring someone so deeply that you're willing to keep them safe.
Did you ever think when you knew those things that it was coming from somewhere else, or was it just that you knew those things?
Well, yes. I think in the beginning, I wasn't sure, honestly, what was happening, but I did have a lot of friends who were also pretty new on their spiritual path. And so we were all exploring everything. We were going to channelings, and we were going getting, readings, and going here and going there and doing this and that. So we would all talk about that, because I wasn't the only one that these things were happening to. So Spirit really gave me, I've always had a great community of support throughout my whole spiritual life, or conscious spiritual life. And so I was very grateful for that. So from the very beginning, I didn't feel too freakish. Right? Because I needed that, because my family had no experience with this whatsoever.
Really? You were that much of a black sheep?
Totally. But at the same time, my family, of course, they love and adore me. And it was one of those things that, like, well, we believe you because you believe you. And I was like, I'll take that.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people don't even get that. You know what I mean? A lot of people do not even get that. And still to this day, no one else in my family has. I mean, of course, my mother gets all my newsletters. My aunt in Germany gets all my newsletters, so they know what I'm doing, and they've read my book and all that. But, it's just not something in this lifetime that they were drawn to. So there was some support there, but not as much as I needed in order to really turn this into a vocation and answer the calling, so to speak. So I always had that in my friends and my community.
But you did it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Was there some great push from somewhere, or what made you take that step towards this? Because if your family's not supporting you and you've got spots of it here and there in your community, which is a great feeling, but I find in my personal experience, sometimes I need a huge team standing behind me going,
Yes.
Yes. Go this way, go this way, go this way.
Yes, yeah. I did. You're right. Because if left to my own devices, I would have not done it, because it was too, I've been doing this, I've been channeling Mother for 23 plus years. As a matter of fact, Easter will be 24 years for us. Easter's is our anniversary. It's our first date. So when she first came to me, I fell so hard for her. I mean, it was a love that I had never, ever experienced, because and this is just my own personal belief, I don't feel that humans are capable of unconditional love. No matter how spiritually advanced we are, we have shadow. We just do. I mean, it's just part of being human. And with shadow comes conditions and expectations and all that stuff. And she has none of that. And she just saturated me in that moment of meeting. And I fell so in love with her that I was willing to do whatever it took to serve her.
That is a powerful meeting.
It was.
How old were you? What was happening in your life?
I was 28 years old, and I had moved to Sedona, Arizona, the woo-woo capital of the world at that time. Bar none.
It might still be.
It's true. It might still be. I don't know. I haven't been there in a while, but it was just and what was so funny is that it was just the right atmosphere for me. When I first started channeling her, and I told a friend of mine, and I said, it was like a whisper, I just started channeling Mother Mary. And she goes, oh, honey, that's nothing. My roommate channels God. And that was the response. And I was like, oh,
that's phenomenal.
It's exactly what I needed, because I wasn't a freak there, right? And yeah, and I personally, that's what I needed in order to be okay with it, because one of my big issues in this life is my fear of judgment of other people.
Yeah.
And so that pursuit of normalcy in my life was a big pursuit. But of course, my channeling has been the vehicle for growth. And not just what I'm channeling. Of course, I learned, gosh, I'm so grateful I'm present because I learned so much from every one of her teachings. But it's the process of channeling and coming to peace with, like, that's just who I am, has been a long journey. Because I am, yeah. I am a slow learner. I'm a really slow learner. And I can't rush into things. I have to take my time. I have to feel safe every step of the way before I'm willing to really plunge and commit. And, so, and her patience is endless. It's
I was
endless.
about to say, I was going to ask if Mother Mary kind of pushed you a little bit, or did she?
But always in such a loving way. Like her version of pushing is when I'm just crazy. I feel this, her voice inside of me, not even in my head anymore, it's just inside of me. And she's like, beloved. And the minute she says beloved, she calls everybody beloved. Beloved. Hence Beloved Publications, which is where she obviously named my business. Beloved. And instantly, like my nerve endings just react, and I just calm right down. And she often doesn't even have to say anything else. It's just, beloved.
It's a true physical response.
Physical response. My mind quiets, my nerve endings slow down. It's like, when you're in the city, and then you go take a hike in the country, in the woods,
Yes.
and your whole physiology just shifts. That's what she does. Like, that's her version of pushing. And then all of a sudden, once I'm calmed down, I can see what she's asking of me. I can find my direction. True north sort of just shows up. And
Can I ask how it was the first time that you talked to Mother Mary? Just so curious. Was there a human side? Like, when I had an opportunity to meet her, I kept going back in my head, like, can this be real? Is she real? Mm-hmm. First of all. Mm-hmm. And I was raised Baptist.
right.
And
So they only take her out and dust her off at Christmas.
yes.
Right. Yeah. And a little bit at Easter, right? C&E. Yeah, that's her time.
C&E. Oh my God. Yes. And so I have a lot of history around her. And I thought, why is she showing up here right now? That
Right.
I have no connection to you. It makes no sense. And it was a very visceral experience. My body had a reaction. I had tears. I couldn't stop crying. I wasn't sad. It was just, I don't know, some reaction. I wasn't shaking. It wasn't like a weakness cry. It was just a can't hold it in.
Yeah.
And
Very common reaction.
she spoke and gave messages and stood in front of me and loved me and walked on and said goodbye, and that was it. And it was just like, and then I spent months, probably years actually, going, why? And was it real? Even though the work that I do, I've done my whole life,
Right.
it was
Yeah.
her that I was so fascinated about.
Yeah.
And then, oddly enough, throughout my young adulthood, people would gift me Mother Mary, Lady Guadalupe, Fatima, all these Mother Mary images from all kinds of cultures. So I've adorned my office and my bathroom
Yeah.
with her, but yet I don't have a daily conversation with her. But I'm curious to know, like, when she first spoke to you, did you just go, well, of course it's you?
Oh my gosh. No.
Yeah, we've had this belief system for so long, like, pull up a chair, honey.
Yeah. I had
Was
no connection to
No?
her. None.
So
None at all.
did she ever tell you, I'm picking you? Like, why there?
She
Yeah?
said we had this pre-life agreement, and after that, and it's funny because before her ever coming into my consciousness, I have had some few past life, even before I got on my spiritual path, conscious spiritual path, I had some past life experiences, and they almost all revolve around the Catholic Church. Like, I know that I've been a devotee of her and Christ, like many lifetimes. And everybody always asks me, well, were you there when she and Christ? And I'm like, nope, not there. I didn't have that connection either, like, not there. And I can't tell you how many people ask her, and she always says, nope. In all the years I've been doing sessions for people and teaching, her, channeling her, and nope. She goes, you have to remember, there was only like a few thousand of us. And in the inner circle, there was like 20 people, So and everybody thinks they were there. And they were the past. Yeah, so it makes me laugh. So I had no connection in that respect. But for me, I don't know why that I'm a good channel for Divine Mother, because that's what she is now. She's no longer the Catholic Mother Mary. That's an icon, and her energy is there because people are praying and calling on her, but she's evolved so far beyond that.
I love how you just separated that, because I think that's where I was hung up, because for me it's just a story in a book or an icon. It wasn't, I had no comprehension.
Yeah. And she says the reason she's evolved to this is because of the Catholic Church, that the way spirit or the way energy works is the more that a person or energy is called on after they pass, the more energy they're given to serve. Right? So she made that commitment after she evolved. That was her last lifetime as Mother Mary. And she made the commitment to want to continue to serve humanity. So every time she's called upon and gets more energy, she can give more back in service.
So it sounds like you also agreed to that. If you were talking before about a previous commitment.
Yeah, and it's the commitment was devotion and service. That was the commitment that she was asking of me. Not just to channel her, but to be in service to her and in devotion with her.
Did it ever create any conflict in your daily life?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I just had my second divorce, so, it's like, it's a little tough on relationships, I gotta tell you. It's a little, because there's always that knowledge. I have a son, and, the order of my life is my spirituality and my son come first, and then everything else comes after that in some jumble ramble thing, and relationships, people don't always like that. They don't like coming in third and fourth, and yet that's just
happens.
And of course there's more to it than that. It's not just that, of course, but it is a little tough on the daily wear and tear, and just in the, and I'm sure you get this too, when people ask what you do for a living and you start talking about it and there's that blank look, sort of glazed over.
There's often a glaze over somebody's face. Or if I share with them that I'm a medium or a channel, they'll say, oh, what kind of artwork do you do? Like, what kind of medium do you work with?
Right.
And I go, I've had that.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's a little different than that, but...
And I often use what you do as an example, because most people, when I just say, well, I channel, they haven't heard of that, but they'll often have heard of medium because of television shows. John Edwards, is that his name? Who did Crossing Over? Yeah, people like that. So there's a little bit more in our culture awareness about what you do, and but I'm still a little bit on the fringe of the fringe.
Yes, you are.
So it is.
When you channel, do you feel as if you are still in your body and you're sharing space with Mother Mary?
Correct.
You
Correct.
do?
Yeah, that's my feeling. I get really small, and I lose my attachment to what's happening. How my body's being used, and vocally, and what we're doing, and it's the only time in my life, in my day, where I'm fully present. Like I'm not thinking while I'm channeling.
You mean the inner chatter in your head is gone?
Gone. And I'm just present with her and what she's doing.
What a cool insight.
It took years, though, because in the beginning there was a lot of, and that was our struggle, right? That was me,
That was some of the conflict.
Exactly, And
she's like, Danielle, you turn that dial down a little bit on that inner voice.
It's a little loud in here. Inside voice, please. Inside voice. And but that was the evolution. And then, the more I grow in my own self, the more room I make for her.
Yes.
Yeah. And so my channeling has evolved, over the years, dramatically.
I kind of have a personal question.
Absolutely.
And you can just go, Jamie Nixit, not sharing. When you were in relationships with your boyfriend, fiance, husband, whenever you finally said, hey, I channel Mother Mary, how does that conversation go? How do you share with someone that you are developing a relationship with and you want their respect and you're looking to invest in them?
Yeah.
And then you do that fringe of the outside of the box kind of a statement
Right.
of what's happening in your life and what you're here to do.
I'd say it on the first date.
You do?
Totally up front.
Okay,
Or even before we go out, if we're chatting or whatever, I always bring it up. Always. Because when I was first doing it, I wouldn't. And I'd wait for the right moment. And of course, you do get invested and then you say it and they're like, I gotta go. Would you look at the time? Wow, TikTok, gotta go.
No.
Oh yeah, I've lost many relationships over it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so now and for a long time, 15 years, it's the first conversation that happens, the first conversation that happens.
How do you describe it?
Well, just as it is, that, I channel this energy, this spirit, this entity, whatever word you want to use, and she uses my body to teach and to heal and to work with other people. And now it's great because I can be like, hey, go to my YouTube channel and check it out. And if I'm too much of a freak, don't call me back, right? And of course, guys, this is such a guy thing. They always want to know, is she going to come when we're,
Oh my God, no!
Yeah, every time I get that question, I'm like, no, ew. Like, ew.
Why would she?
I know, it's like, yeah, no, that's gross.
I don't think my husband has ever asked that question. Like, is it ever going to go down like that?
Well, he's known you so long, he probably knows how you work. This is always in the beginning, when you first go for intimacy or start approaching that, the place of intimacy. That's always the question. I'm like, no. But, honestly, I don't know about other channels. I've heard horror stories. I don't know about you, but I've heard, oh my gosh, people sitting down to channel at a group event and the entity not showing up. And I told Mother in the very beginning, I was like, none of that.
Oh, I've never had that happen.
Yeah, I said none of that. I had a very firm, that was all I asked for, is that, when we sit down to channel, that's the only time you come. Unless, of course, she and I are communing privately.
Yes.
But yeah, no popping in my relationships. And
and if I've agreed to show up for you,
you have to show up for me.
When it's time. This is where it goes.
Yeah. I said, if I have to learn whatever lesson is embroidered in that, I'm like, can we do it another way other than that?
That would be nice.
I don't think that's honorable, asking people to come and pay and drive a distance or do whatever they need to do to get there.
I'd never heard of that happening.
Oh, yeah. This is in Sedona. I heard all kinds of stories, weird stories. I'm like, what are you channeling?
Yeah. Who would be that disrespectful?
I know. I don't know. There's all kinds of entities on the spectrum, from shadow to light. So it's...
I was going to ask, what were some of the lessons? And we talked about maybe some people's lesson was to channel a spirit that just wasn't going to show up for them. But what were some of the lessons that you gathered from Mary that you didn't find in your other spiritual work? Are there, specific things that meet
yes.
her.
Very specific. She is one of the greatest entities of teaching about love, I find. She's one of the only, and I have to admit, I'll come clean here. I don't read a lot of books because I'm present for every channeling. I just, I'm not often drawn to read other, books like this. And so I'm not widely read, and I haven't watched everyone channel. So I'm not speaking from a place of utter authority. But she's one of the few or only entities that teaches how awesome the ego is. And something like that, because when I first got on my spiritual path, it was out of desperation because of my eating disorder. And I went from self-loathing, not dislike, self-loathing to self-love with her. And it's because her biggest teaching is if you've got it, you love it. And just this weekend at the retreat, she gave this beautiful little speech about how amazing it is to be an I, to have an ego, to be an individual inside a supported we, a collective, to be an I inside the one. And how dynamic that is for exploration and discovery and growth and learning. And, the way she presents it, you're like, yeah, it is pretty good to have this experience. There's nothing, she says, you've never been broken. No one's ever been broken. You're not broken now, and you never will be broken. And it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, if you're more in shadow and light, you're simply a part of the normal evolution of being a human being and all that involves. And I love that teaching, because when I first started, my self-loathing was about rejecting, 99% of who I was.
Wow.
I wasn't smart enough, I wasn't pretty enough, I wasn't intuitive enough, I wasn't spiritual enough. I was never enough. There was nothing about me that was enough, that was good enough. And so life became not good enough. And I was always discontent and resentful and, frustrated. And her love, her version of love, that's unconditional love. You can't teach unconditional love and then call the ego the enemy.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
You can't, because how do we get rid of an ego? Never. As long as we're in a human body, we will have an ego. It's how we individuate from infancy to toddlerhood. That's when the ego kicks in and we become I. You're Jamie. I'm Danielle. That's your identity. You'll never not be that. Even the Dalai Lama is the Dalai Lama. He can say I. It's evolved for him. I love him. I saw a video of him recently. I am mad for this man. I adore him. I am so in love with him. Oh my God, I want him to be my grandpa.
How did you like his speech of, I don't think anybody else needs to be the Dalai Lama. It's a very hard job. I don't really wish to reincarnate. Did you read all of his?
I didn't.
Oh, please go back on the internet and look. What he wrote, what he shared was, release me. I've done this for so long.
Oh my
and it's a life of servitude, yes, but let me experience it in a different way. It was really beautiful.
Oh my gosh, how wonderful. I don't know if we can do that collectively. We're so in love with him. Everyone's so crazy about him.
Yes, I adore him as
Yeah.
well.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for telling me that, because I'll actually work on that in my meditations, because there is an attachment for me. I love him being in the world, but if he wants to go, then I respect that. I'll honor that. But so I appreciate her teachings both from a heart place and a logical place. Because I know my greatest healing has come from first accepting the parts of myself that are what they are, and then understanding them, and then embracing them, and then finally loving them. And sometimes I can even celebrate that,
I've been rolling around in my head since you've mentioned that you took the journey with Mother Mary. You went from self-loathing with the eating disorder into loving yourself.
Yeah.
And just from my experience with friends and people that I've worked with eating disorders or body dysmorphia, like not liking the human body, that journey is by no means a walk in the park.
Oh,
It
no.
is confusing, it is hurtful, it is the darkest of darks.
Yes.
Not to compare with any other, battle or journey that we're taking, but in my experience, because when you haven't gone through it yourself, you're like, oh, just get over it.
Right.
There's this line of thinking of, if you've got that, just work through it. But this comes with a lot of darkness.
Oh, yes.
And people take on several therapists and psychotherapists and physicians and regiment and a team of people that help you reconnect with the physical body. And all I heard you just say was, no, Mother Mary and I, we went through that journey together.
Oh, well,
and
let
that
me
came out on the other
correct.
side.
I've had a huge group of people that helped me. I joined a program early on, and I stick with it. It's still part of my life. I'm very much in a community of people who are like-minded about this journey, particularly with food and body image and and spirituality and all of that. So no. But she brought all that.
That's a huge
to me.
element, though.
You have to have a community of support, because also, it's not just the individual that struggles with, but I find mostly, and I know men struggle with this for sure, but women, this is part of our coming back into equality. The comfort in our own bodies, a female body, a body that we can discuss freely, being sexual beings. This is very, very much about feminine empowerment, and it has definitely been a journey, because my generation, I'm 51, and my mother was of the generation where the women were burning the bras in the 70s and demanding equal pay and blah blah, all that stuff. And then my generation, we were the ones that were like, okay, we did this for you, now go out and be whole, be powerful women. And we were like, but I was raised in a home where you didn't believe that, and that's not what was modeled for me, but so I'm supposed to go out and do it and go for the career and get the and have the kid and and super mom, right? Have it all. That's where it began with my generation. We're supposed to be able to have it all. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't even want it all. It's like too much. It's overwhelming. It's like, you can keep it all. I'm just going to take these little bits, and that's enough for me. So, it's like, oh my gosh. And, so I think that what I would say to that is, anybody that struggles with that, you have got to have your support team, whether it is, friends, whether it's a group, whether it's working with someone like yourself, working with therapists, doctor, whatever is really working for you. I think it's a group effort, personally. And I don't know many people that really can just do it with one thing, like spirituality or psychotherapy, just one thing.
I was mentioning that for anybody who's going through illness or healing, that or self-awareness, our minds can get really muddy or mean or circle back around on us. And for you to have a clear connection to a spirit, Mother Mary, who can, what it sounds like to me, talk beyond the muddled mind.
Yes.
And give you the insight and the clarity as you're in the darkness and the oddness and the awkwardness, that's amazing.
It is.
That right there is, like, for me, is, if you want to call it a sign, like, it's the sign for me that says, okay, something much bigger is happening here.
Right.
Yeah. Huge.
Yeah. Well, that's when she says beloved inside me. I feel like her beloved. Like there's a feeling that goes along. It's not just a word. It's a feeling that goes, and I feel that I'm her beloved, and then I'm enough, and I'm loved, and I'm supported, and I can feel the gratitude. Like I can see, how much support I have, and how much I have as opposed to what I lack. It just shifts things for me, But I had to work hard to let that in. I mean, this is not, and I have quite a few people that come to my events and work with Mother, have been with her for years, and they have just as dynamic and deep a relationship with her as I do. I have no corner on her. I have no exclusive rights to her, but I've had to work really hard to develop this relationship with her, because like I said, when I began it, that wasn't my, that's not the way I viewed myself, or I didn't think that I was deserving to be a beloved, right? I didn't deserve to be a beloved. And that's what has shifted. And that's the energy that she has given me unstintingly. I mean, just constantly. And the only time I can't feel it is when I abandon her. She's never abandoned me. Never once. Never once. And I look back on my life, and before we formally met, she's always been there for me. Always. And, I see it in my son. She's there for my son as well. We never spoke about Mother Mary and what I did when he was a child. She asked me specifically not to. And anytime he would see an image of Mother Mary when he was really little, he'd point to it and say, "Mommy! Mommy!" And then when he was about 2.5, 3, he just started talking about her and telling me all about conversations they have together, going on, and calling her Mother Mary, whereas my former husband and I were very careful about not talking about her in front of him, because I didn't want to put my spiritual beliefs on him. I believe everybody should come to that on their own. And but she was there with him from the beginning. And it was great. He would just go on and on about it, and how much she's there for him, and how much he loves her, and how much she loves him, and how safe he feels with her. And he just chat away about stuff they talk about. And I was like, oh my God, I was tripping so hard. And one of my friends gave him a little Mother Mary statue. He slept with that in his fist for over a year, like a 1.5 years. He slept with that. He couldn't go to sleep. He always slept with it for like a year during this period. And then all of a sudden it stopped. And he hasn't really... he speaks about her now in context with me and what I do, but he doesn't remember that from his childhood. And never had that since. But it let me know I needed that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I needed to know that she was there
comfort.
for her. Yeah. It's great.
Well, I know our time is growing short with our Lumineers here. I just wanted to say thank you so much for being willing in this lifetime to do the work, the hard work, and to let her come forward. Not, as you said, you don't have a corner on her.
Yeah.
You've done this for all of us. And I hope I can speak for a few people when I say thank you for what you do.
So welcome.
I feel like crying.
Because
she's
coming. She's coming soon.
Not yet. I look cool in front of the camera. Wow. What the crazy. Y'all make me cry. So Lumineers, to get closer to Danielle Gibbons, please check out her book, Mother Mary's Pathway to Love. You can find it on her website, belovedpublications.com. And
through Amazon.
I was going to say, there's so many other ways out there. Amazon.
Yeah.
I love my Amazon.
I know. Oh, thank you so much for having me
Thank
again,
you.
Jamie. It is always such a joy
Please
to be
come
with
back
you.
next year.
I will.
We'd love to have you again and again.
I will, for sure.
Thank you.
Bye, sweetie.
Oh, take care.
Thank you. You too.
Remember, guys, it's not woo-woo. It's true.
The light to the sun with dreams.
Too good?